Well, good morning, Chanelle. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chat with us today with Politic365.com.
Thank you. It's great to have this opportunity.
It's exciting. So first question off the bat, how are things going, the new transition as Executive Director of the National Urban Leagues Policy Institute?
So far, so good. We just had a reception. I don't know if you were able to come by last week during Congressional Black Caucus, and Mark gave me an opportunity to share a few words, and I was just like, the crowd doesn't want to hear a lot of words, but I do want to say I really do love my job, and I feel privileged to have this opportunity. It is a huge amount of work, and a lot of that has to do with what we were talking about earlier, that we're still in a jobless recovery. We still have people of color bearing the brunt of the worst of the economic conditions. And so there's a lot of work to be done, and this organization works very hard. So it's definitely challenging, but it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Well, given those challenges, particularly around economic recovery, joblessness, what's your vision for the Policy Institute going forward? How do you think the Urban League is going to be positioned to help create a positive policy environment that helps reverse the tide on some of that stuff?
Right. I think my vision and Mark's vision is to build on the foundation that's been laid for the National Urban League Policy Institute, which actually has been around for quite some time. Obviously, we have our signature publication and event, the State of Black America, that we publish every year, and I think that folks have come to rely on to kind of provide some of that really good data about exactly what the statistics are, how are we doing, especially compared to the majority. And also we have our policy conference each year where we try to bring together some of the best policy minds to talk about the issues facing our community. So want to build on both of those things, and a key effort will be really honing our advocacy efforts. So we have brought on a new team, and we are going to be pounding the pavement on the Hill and in the administration, and really making sure that the Urban League is represented at all of the tables where these critical conversations are taking place. We'll be really trying to take the research that we have and again build on that, and even more to take advantage to the work that you do of our new technological opportunities to really spread that. So we may be a fairly small team, but the internet allows us to maximize our reach, and we'll be using I Am Empowered to get some of that out.
So tell me some more about the I Am Empowered campaign, because it seems like that is the grassroots component of your advocacy efforts. What are some of the core tenets of that initiative?
So I Am Empowered has 4 tenets, and I always try to have them perfectly word for word memorized. I think I'm close. But they cover our 4 core areas, which are that every American should have access to a job with a fair wage and good benefits. Every American child should be ready for college, work, and life. Every American should have access to quality and affordable health care solutions, and every American should have access to safe, decent, energy-efficient housing on fair terms. I think I've got them all. And those really speak to the work that we've done since our founding 100 years ago, where I would say our top priority is employment, because that's a unique role that the Urban League fills. And so I Am Empowered allows us to reach out to the movement and ask our supporters to sign that pledge that they are committed to seeing all of these goals achieved by the year 2025, and to taking steps, whatever steps that they can do immediately to advance that goal. So I think it's similar to kind of some of the energy we saw around the 2008 elections, where people got engaged in a way that they never had before, because now I don't feel like I have to be able to write a check with a lot of zeros to get involved. There's something small that I can do, and that's what IamEmpowered.com is about.
And one of the things that I really love about the campaign website is how interactive it is. People can really go and get a feel for what you guys are doing, what they can do to help. I love that component. And I think there's also another part of the I Am Empowered campaign focus more so on technology, right? The I Am Connected. How does that differ in any way from I Am Empowered, or are they the same goals, just translated to, technology equality kind of things, or what's that?
I think it's all the same goals, but I think that part of I Am Empowered is to build this grassroots community and really help to connect the movement to the work that we're doing at the policy level and the work that we're doing back home on the ground. But another part of it is that we're still facing a real challenge, as you well know, in adoption of broadband by African Americans and communities of color as a whole. And while we know that we certainly face some challenges in broadband availability, and we know we face some definite challenges in affordability, a really key challenge we face is relevance, that for some reason we have not yet made the case that you really need to be online. And so I am empowered as the National Urban League's way of providing that relevant content to our communities to try to encourage that connection.
So you touched on, the importance of broadband, right? And now some are calling this the civil rights issue of our day. Kind of what's your thought on the role, the importance of broadband in our communities, particularly around opportunities to create jobs, improve health care, create new energy efficiencies?
Well, it's actually interesting. As I was listening to the radio just today, they were talking about the fact that one of the reasons for the huge income gap is about education, but it's not just education, it's specifically computers. And that without the education to thrive in a computer-based, information-based economy, our young people are just not prepared for the jobs of today and tomorrow. And so I do think that broadband tied to education is the civil rights issue of our day, and I think that the Urban League and other partners are working to try to close that digital divide.
Yeah, I think, the Urban League has done a great job of, taking a huge step forward as being one of the founding members of the Broadband Opportunity Coalition, which, I think through that adoption project, supported by NTIA, is going to be able to help support your efforts, really, making sure that people get connected, get online. So we also touched on kind of the clean energy policy, that being important. Is there particular importance for African American communities around clean energy policy, or kind of what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think energy policy broadly, climate change policy broadly, there's a lot that's relevant to communities of color. I would say the first thing that we look at as the Urban League with our focus on jobs is obviously the concept of green jobs. And as we go to more clean energy and more alternative energy and renewable energy, that creates opportunities for people who are trained to take advantage of those opportunities. We want to make sure that our communities are trained. We also want to make sure that when they're determining where to do the building, where the projects and the warehouses are going to be set up, that they're accessible to our community so our community can take place. But also, communities of color tend to be in the areas where the not clean energy is being dispersed, and obviously we know about the different challenges that poses for the community. So certainly we work with our colleagues in the environmental justice movement around jobs, around clean air and water and just environment in general.
So, education, training seem to be key.
Yep.
Are you all currently working on programs now to help facilitate education and training efforts through your affiliates and even through the National Urban League?
I would say we don't have a specific Green Jobs initiative, but in our job training, each of our job training programs, because they're localized, we have affiliates in 36 states. We'll look at whatever the opportunities are that we can prepare our population for in the community. So we're training everything from welding to green jobs to education to health working. But the goal is to figure out ways that we can cooperate with the government, with other nonprofits and groups in the community, just to make sure that.
And in that spirit of cooperation, what can regular people do to help propel your mission? If you could assign a team of foot soldiers, what is it that you'd be looking for? What do you want people to do to get involved?
Wow, there's so many things I could say. I'll try to think of the top. I mean, one would be obviously to go to IamEmpowered.com and sign the pledge and get active online with our community. And the second is to inform themselves and be engaged. I think, the president has certainly been saying, as have others on the other side of the aisle, midterm elections have never been interesting for people, particularly for our community. People stay home. We get excited about the president, but we have to remember that whoever the president is, if you're interested in his or her agenda, you need to be voting in midterm elections, because that is absolutely critical to the ability to get that agenda passed. And so I would say inform yourself and be engaged in our political process, because that We may think what happens in Washington only matters in Washington, but it trickles down to all of us and has consequences in our lives. And the next thing I would just say is figure out what you're passionate about, educate yourself, and get involved with immediate things that you can do. Everybody can go to their local Urban League affiliate and volunteer. There's no shortage of opportunities to get involved in the community. So I just say do what you can. Don't be overwhelmed by how much there is to do, because every little bit helps.
Okay. And then last question, what would your charge be to young people?
For young people, it would be to stay in school, get the best grades possible, go to college, graduate from college with the best grades possible, so that as we continue to be in an economy where the differences between those who have that high school diploma and don't, and those who have that college degree and don't, will continue to play a really significant role in their lives. The best things they can do for themselves and their future and their community is to have their education.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
This was
welcome.
wonderful.